Therefore the male goat grew very great, but when he became strong, the large horn was broken. The male goat grew very great, but when he became strong, the Greek Empire, the large horn was broken, and in place of it, four notable ones came up toward the four winds of heaven. We saw this same representation with the leopard. Okay, in Daniel 7 was the bear was the Persians, and then the leopard, which had on his back four wings of a bird. I'm sorry, four wings of a bird. The beast also had four heads, and dominion was given to it. Four heads, one beast, four heads, because the kingdom of Greece was separated in four. So four people took power of the Greek Empire right after Alexander the Great, who conquered everything, died. So that's why it says, therefore the male goat grew very great, like Alexander the Great. But when he became strong, the large horn was broken, Alexander. And in place of it, four notable ones came up toward the four winds of heaven. The four parts in which the empire separated, four people took over, represented by those four notable horns, showing how people are represented by horns in the book of Daniel. And out of one of them came a little horn. So we see here the actual little horn, the beast. This is very interesting because of the one I was mentioning, the interpretation of the two witnesses being killed by the beast, and well, because of the way it will unfold, as we are about to see. Because in a way, Daniel skips, it's not Daniel, it's Yahweh, skips the Roman Empire, because even though it is the Roman Empire who will evolve into the New World Order, as we see in Daniel 2 and Daniel 7, the person who will become the little horn of that fourth beast, of that New World Order, that person would come from one of the four places in which the Greek Empire was separated. So the Greek Empire was divided in four. One of those four became the little horn, which is talking in the historical sense of Antiochus, the one who would destroy the temple and put a pig to be sacrificed for Zeus. So it is talking about that person who is in the book of Maccabees. And we can read the book of Maccabees and see how everything that happened historically about 150 years before Mashiach was a perfect representation of what Daniel prophesied throughout his book for the very end. So that's why I keep on repeating that this whole chapter can represent or speak of what already in our time happened in Daniel was prophecy. Still, I mean, my point is, the prophecy had two fulfillments. After Daniel, all the empires that came, but also the main fulfillment in our time, the very end, in which all prophecies have an ultimate fulfillment. So there are two ways of seeing all of this. So that large horn is pretty much represented later by the little horn, because the large horn represents Alexander the Great, who took over, like the beast, who will take over through the third World War in the second seal. So that would be like the large horn when it's taking over. But after it takes over, he will be placed as world leader, and three horns will fall when he comes up to power as the world leader. So he comes in the previews, which would be this kingdom, which is at work right now, but they are setting up the New World Order. So during this kingdom, he would appear as the large horn to be able to kill the two witnesses. But when he's set up as the world leader for 42 months, as we see in Revelation, for the New World Order, he basically becomes the little horn that takes away three other horns. That's why here there are four horns, and one of the four is the little one. That little one would gain power. So that little horn is pretty much the microcosm of the large horn that appeared previously, which in the historical sense was Alexander the Great. So the large horn, Alexander the Great; the little horn, Antiochus Epiphanes. But they both represent the beast in two different times. One in which through war becomes famous and large and kills the two witnesses. And then as the little horn being the king of the last kingdom, which is the New World Order. So that's why also we see that the eighth kingdom is one of the seven. In the book of Revelation, we see that the eighth kingdom, the eighth head, is one of the seven heads. Pretty much the one that was killed but then was resurrected, or its mortal wound was healed. I'll continue. Therefore the male goat grew very great, but when he became strong, the large horn was broken, Alexander the Great, and in place of it four notable ones came up toward the four winds of heaven, and out of one of them came a little horn. A little horn. That's why the beast is also known as the little horn from this chapter, which grew exceedingly great toward the south. So it's interesting that is a little horn, is known as the little horn, but then he says which grew exceedingly great toward the south. So we see there the connection, as I was saying, with the large horn, because this little horn ends up growing exceedingly great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the exalted land. So it grows towards south, east, and towards Israel. So that means that it has to be north and west. Like I said, on the extreme of the north and west of the earth is where the beast will come up. So, and towards the exalted land,